How's it going out there? Enzo DiCostanzo podcast. And today we're working on the first Excel modeling for the budgetary planning chapter. All right, here we are, folks. So this is the second chapter of the first half of the course. And as I mentioned in class, there's a tremendous interest from businesses out there in things like this. And there's a lot of forecasting content in here. And we want you to get the benefit of that. So the basic ideas of the chapter are, as we've previously discussed, the benefits of budgeting, essentials of effective budgeting, the budgets that compromise the master budget, sources for budget income statement, principal sections of the cash budget, and then the applicability of budgeting in non-manufacturing companies. And there's a lot more detail here. As I said in class, you can't live without labor, materials, and manufacturing. You can't live without that, right? So those you need. There's no two ways about it. Okay, this is the overhead. I'm just cleaning this up a bit. Okay. Certainly the impact on behavior, long range planning, what the master budget is, the length of the budget period, the essentials of effective budgeting, budgeting and accounting. We care about all that stuff. Okay. And we've previously, without going into the details of really introducing this, we've previously discussed a lot of this. Just to run through my notes in the Excel file here, budgeting and accounting, one of the main responsibilities is planning. It's the process of establishing enterprise-wide objectives. And again, and folks, I used to say this when I was at Rutgers, and I'm saying it with you guys. I can only teach what I know. Okay, right. I can only teach the stuff I know. So the group, I don't want to say the firm, but the group that I work with, it's a small focus group, but it's got tremendous connections. It's got tremendous global connections, and that's a big part of it. Uh, I'd be lost in a big investment bank. I know there's somebody, a person I know in my personal life. She works in the human resources of a big bank, and I'd be lost if I was in that environment. To be honest with you, but also I know what to do with the information that I have, which big firms can look at that and say, hey, this guy, what he knows about this, he knows about that. It's almost, I'm not saying a detriment, but big firms like people who will do a certain part of the project very well. The macro view of things is generally reserved for the real people who run the firm. But again, with what I do, I'm responsible for, I'm pitching deal ideas to my very wealthy coworkers, and I better be right. The more I'm right than wrong means I'm going to hang around a little bit more, and I sort of look at it that way. So, planning, enterprise-wide objectives, what a budget is, formal written statement of the measurements plans for a specified future time period, expressed in financial terms. You want to be able to communicate those objectives throughout the organization. Accounting information makes a major contribution to the budgeting process. Records, historical data, revenues, costs, expenses. And I may have used an example in class where we were working on a real estate project that potentially could have involved Trump. It ended up not, but it could have. We could have, and that's one of the many flaws of the firm that I worked for. I pretty much work for the same firm, but it's under just different management right now. All right, which is I was probably healthy for it. But the guy who was running screwed up a potential deal that we could have been working with Trump for better or worse. but I think there was more plus than minus to it in my opinion. So, but the benefits of budgeting: formalize goals, plan ahead, objectives that you can evaluate, sort of, if you achieved them or didn't achieve them. Now, there's early warning systems to make changes, sure. Coordination of activities, correlate the goals of each segment with the overall company objectives. The company can integrate production, sales, promotion with expected sales. Management awareness of the entity's overall operations motivates personnel throughout the organization to meet planned objectives. Okay, so length of the budget, essentials of effective budget. These are all, budgeting process. The length of time that you're going to create these budgets for, how people are going to be impacted by this, and all these factors here. Sales forecasting involves consideration of a variety of factors. And I might like this again. Anytime I go over these notes, I always look at it and say, "Oh, I got a better way to say this and a better way to do that." Those kinds of things. So just give me a second. But I like that list. I want to go through that list in a second with you guys. The different factors that you consider: general economic conditions, industry trends, market research studies, advertising and promotion, market share, changes in prices, technological developments. That's a nice little set of factors to look at. Just give me a second. And actually, this, if you guys don't mind, this is too big. How what you're saying impacts people, right? You can have the best ideas, the best whatever, but if people aren't listening or you're not communicating well with people, that's a problem. Okay, that's something to keep in mind. Long range planning, how far down the road you're looking at what your plans are. We work a year or two out, maybe 3, but really just a year or 2 out is how we generally work. What the master budget is, what operating budgets are, what financial budgets are. Operating budgets are the components that result in the budget income statement. The master budget, collects operating budgets and financial budgets. Financial budgets, capital expenditures, cash budget, balance sheet. Operating budgets are everything else: the sales budgets, production, materials, labor, selling, administrative, overhead. That's all operating budgets. These together, operating and financial, is the master budget. And there's some questions in the book that are like that ask those questions. These are a few questions where these terms, you know what these terms are. So as you just go through these questions here, I don't know. Let's see how well I could do with this. Sales for the industry. All right. We hope we're right with this. Basis for operation of the budget income statement. That's operating. All right. Interrelated budgets. That's the master. Long-term goals is certainly the long-range planning version of things. Low-level management, that kind of thing. That's participative. And cash resources is the cash or the financial budget. All right, let's see how well we did with this. Financial participative. 4 is long range, 3 is master, 2 is operating. So perfect, right? The professor got a perfect score, thank God. All right, so we got all that. And again, just like in the homeworks, you want to get rid of all of these the shading here. You want to get rid of this stuff. All right, you want to get rid of that. So okay, so we answered those. Those are the questions there. What a financial budget is focuses on the cash resources needed to fund operations and planned expenditures. Low-level management is more likely to perceive the results as fair and achievable under participative, meaning that they had some input into this. Identifies long-term goals, strategies, develops policies and plans to implement the strategies. That's long-range planning. What a master budget is, what an operating budget, the base of preparation of budget income statements. Sales forecast shows potential sales for the industry and the company's expected share of such sales. Okay, so you have all those. Oh, now we're getting to the serious stuff here. Preparing the operating budget. This is here. So Hayes is preparing. And now, what is it? They're calling it Kitchen Mate, but I think it's Kitchen Aid, right? I think Kitchen Aid are the brand of the blenders and mixers and the hand mixers and things of that nature. I have a lot of that stuff, and it's lasted a good 20 years. It's my mixers, and that mixer's made plenty of cakes and cupcakes and cheesecakes and all that. So they're calling it Kitchen Mate, but I think it's Kitchen Aid. That's like the good brand of countertop kitchen appliances. I'm trying to think. I have a blender, a food processor. It's all the same brand. It's all KitchenAid. And it's lasted 20 years. So for the folks out there building your kitchen up, that's it. All right, that's what you're going to care about. So they start the budgeting process on the September 1st, 2011, and they want to complete the budget for 2012 by the 1st of December with a month to go. They're going to care about sales forecasts. Okay. So, and a lot of the other budgets depend on sales forecasts. So, like I said, we're going to go through the Excel. The main, because as I said, we've discussed all these topics in the PowerPoints. So I don't feel compelled to really go over a lot more of just the ideas here. I want to go through the Excel, but anyway, you have to be careful about overly optimistic budgets or too conservative of a budget. Okay, so. And it's something like this where it's you're selling goods, or you have an inventory of something. Okay, so you have to be able to predict how many countertop kitchen mixers you're gonna use. Now, also, if you've ever seen, I think the movie, what is it called, The Shining, and you guys might not, but that was a big movie in my generation. It was a horror film. Let's see. Let's see if we there's Jack Nicholson. There we go. There's the kitchen, the industrial, and this is Scatman Crothers. He was on TV in the 70s. But yeah, see, this is I was trying to find the mixer, but this is the kitchen in a hotel, and this is this little kid did a tremendous acting job, and like so many child actors, you really never saw him again. But this is the pantry, where they have the ketchup and the relish and the mustard and all the pieces that they use, all the condiments and things of that nature. But there was a big mixer in this scene, and I'm trying to find, see if I can see that. See, this is a big can opener, big industrial size can opener. This is what a kitchen in a hotel would look like. And actually, someone had said to me that I think a relative of mine said that their relatives had gone out to Colorado and actually visited the hotel where this movie took place. And I realize you guys might not be the biggest movie guys, but Stephen King was guy who wrote a lot of books, like very scary books, like horror books that are intended to sort of frighten you. And you can see here's Jack Nicholson. You can see obviously going a little bit crazy, and they were out there in Colorado, and you could see some of the pictures. Jack Nicholson was, yeah, there he goes. This is him in the bar. You have to. I'm not going to give a synopsis of the movie, but basically, he went out to Colorado to write a book and went crazy and killed his family, or tried to kill his family, and then he froze. Here at the end of the movie, he froze to death outside. But that was what but this was a big scare, and this was really scary. This was some scary stuff to this movie. So anyhow, but yeah, I was looking for the mixer because they walked by a big one. Kitchen. Yeah, this thing. These are mixers. Right? What I have looks like this. It's something like this. It's about a 5-quart tilt head. Yeah, I don't think I paid $651. I probably paid half that price. But that's what a mixer looks like. So okay, and these things last. Okay, once you pick it up, these things really do last quite a while. It's good for here. This is an industrial. Actually, this is one you could stand. You might be able to stand next to some of these. I don't know if for 800, but there's real big ones out there. This is one. This is about as big as a basketball. This one. See, there's a hand mixer. I have this one. This is probably the one I bought 20 years ago. But there's some that are you can walk past them, and they're as tall as you. You can make dough. Again, if you're and maybe even like the ShopRites, because I know they do some baking and cooking, on the premises. Again, just trying to put in your mind's eye. See this thing? You're weird. Look. This is as big as the guy. See the person standing there. This is if you stood next to it, it'd be almost as tall as you are. And this is for making doughs and cake batters for big volumes of this. See, you're walking. See, there's the table there. The table's like at your belt level, right? So this thing is almost as tall as a person. So. Well, that's what these mixers are. Just to put up some sort of product in your mind. Just like I was discussing the clock radio in the previous chapter, that we're picking this particular product to study in this particular chapter. So we're going to care about the sales forecast and how you go through that. And it says for Hayes Company, they expect the unit sales for the volumes and the anticipated selling price to be 3,000 units in the first quarter and a 500 unit increase each quarter past that. So in other words, they think they're going to sell 3,000 of these mixers, and then 3,500, then 4,000, then 4,500. Okay, and now it says you're selling these things for 60 per unit. And again, when you saw the prices are about 10 times that for a standing mixer. So maybe they're talking about a hand mixer, and a hand mixer probably 30 years ago maybe cost that. So let's see. Okay, these are about 80. So maybe this is what they're most likely we're talking. I think I have this one. So okay, they changed the colors and things of that nature, but it's 70 now. So it's probably 60 when they wrote this. The guys wrote this book. So this book was written a while ago. This is not a recently written book, that's for sure. Okay. All right, what are we doing here? This is going to be, so, we set this table up. And again, you should be able to put a border around something and center something, and you should be able to make this stuff. All right, so you need to sit there and, put a border around the cell and things, right? See things like that. Center, fill it with some kind of color, right? Those kinds of things, okay? So you should be able to do all that. I don't go because see these Excel sheets, it's like this when I get it, right? I turn it into this for you guys, okay? But when I get it, it's blank. Keep that in mind. The company doesn't send me these models. I create this all myself. You have a consistent selling price. Control R, Control R, Control R. Whoop. All right, and you can do one. If it's consistent, you could even do it for the year. And then you're going to start with 3,000 units. So this shouldn't be too big of a chore for you guys. Okay, so you start with 3,000, you equal the one before, then add 500 more. You could do it in your head, but why? Why would you want to do that? Okay. See how we did it? Control R. So you hover over this, or you select the cell where the formula that you want is, and if you're going to keep the reference is going to keep being the cell to the left of the current cell that you're looking at. You don't have to anchor anything, right? And you add 500, 500, 500, and then for the year, you do your summation for the year, and that's about 15,000 units. And if you lost a border somewhere, you can always fix it. Okay, if you lose a border, and then save your work. And now what you want to do. So for the first budget that we looked at, the price for each of these mixers, $60, right? Not challenging there. And then we're gonna, what we think we're gonna sell every quarter. I don't know if this is Northern New Jersey or out Long Island or what have you. Okay, so there was a Chef supply store that's gone now. It was called Chef Central, and actually they opened a couple branches. I don't know if the one in New York, there was one in Westchester that, let's see, Chef. This was the place where they really had everything. Westchester. Yeah, unfortunately, permanently closed. Yeah, but I remember they'd opened up in. Now I don't know. Location closed. Location closed. I think all three of them are closed. Could there? Yeah, there were two of them. Hartsdale, White Plains. So I don't know if these are still open or going to be open or going to be closed or what they're going to do. And it says location closed. Yeah, I think they went online or something, or they're selling it at Bed Bath and Beyond or something like that. They might be doing that. Location closed. Yeah, they had us. He opened two more. They opened one in Hartsdale. They opened one in White Plains. Okay, and the original one was in Paramus. But again, 20 years ago, that was the place to go get your equipment. But it is, I'll tell you what else it is too. Once you have all your I just told you the mixtures last so far it's 2 years, 20 years and counting. If that stuff lasted all that time, what are you doing, having a place that sells that stuff? You're not going to need it, right? You're just not simply not going to need it. I don't know what's wrong here, but and all this Hartsdale, Springbrook Parkway, that's all money up there. Living in that part of Westchester. So I don't know. Maybe it says Chef City Equipment. Maybe these guys are eating their lunch. Let's see what we get out of this. The competition did better, and I remember when I walked in, there was a lot of people working there. They had a lot of labor costs in there. I remember that. So personal chefs. Look at this, personal chefs. Yeah, folks, I'm supposed to have the fastest internet, the best internet, and it seems like we're on these videos. We're stuck waiting. I don't know why that happens. I apologize for that, but let's see. And here, this was the one. Actually, this was the one up in Paramus. You could call there and ask the guy cooking advice and how to cook eggs and all sorts of stuff like that. But uh, I remember reading about these guys, and they basically said that it was just that the labor cost did them in. So anyhow, so what are we supposed to do here? Equals product. We're going to multiply the 3,000 times the 60. But let's be smart about this. Da, 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 da. You want to anchor this, the bottom one, right? Row 41 gets anchored. And you want this to float, right? You want this to float. So actually, the both of them, you want the rows to anchor, right? And they can just come across like this, Control R. And when this happens, just double click, double click, double click. And you could do this. I mean, the smartest way is just to do this, just to add up your subtotals. You could check this by multiply this together, but you may not have the same selling. See, let me tell you what blows us out of the water. If you don't have the same selling price every time, that's what's going to mess up doing it like this, just multiplying these two together. But you could see just from and you could also just sort of put one down at the bottom here. Down. Bold. Smaller. Italics. Equals. And that's also 900,000. Okay. And if you lost some borders somehow, you can always go back and all borders are outside. Okay. You can check that. This is just and I didn't use a product function. You could just say Shift-8, just multiply them together. Okay, but this is your first budget. Hopefully not too much. And also always the name of the company and what it is and the dates. That stuff's got to be right. Okay, it can't be something. You can't have mistakes up here. Okay, that was sales. Now production shows you obviously want to meet those sales, and those mixtures don't just appear in nature somewhere where we're out there somewhere in South America digging them up out of the ground. Okay, so obviously these things need to be constructed. So the production requirements in terms of manufacturing those pieces of kitchen equipment, sales, what your finished goods units are going to be, what your beginning finished goods unit are going to be, and then what you want to produce. So what you think you'll sell, what you want to end up with, and then you subtract out from that what you started with. And again, Hayes Company, now it's a production budget, not a sales budget. And also what you want to do with this, how you want to start this is certainly where it says expected sales. You just go right up to what you just computed. The units now, you care about units. Okay, and you could make it the font black or whatever, but okay. And then say equal sum, and just sum up your 4 quarters like that. Okay. That's where this starts. Now, you want to end with a certain amount of finished goods units. You want 1 out of 5 of what you're expecting to sell next quarter, and you're ending. In other words, you want 20% of next quarter sales already made, so you have to produce any more. So you'll say equals, because that top line you're just referring to something. So it's it's the next quarter sales, comma, then here's your 20%. Close this, and actually what you could do is you could click here and say F4, which will put $signs for the, you want to refer to this 20%, and also you want to lock the row, so you get your 700, okay, and also what you have to do, and I did it here, yeah, 20% X, you want to put a comment up in here, and actually what you can do is you could take this little note here, right click, new note, paste, 20% of next quarter's unit sales. Okay, is there. You can right click, it'll give you the 800, right click again, it'll give you 900. Now, you need next quarter sales is what you need. So in the third quarter, you're referencing the fourth quarter's expected sales, and then you're taking 20% of that number. Okay, 20% of the third quarter in the second, and 20% of the second quarter in the first. But now you need the first quarter of 2013, and I'm trying to see how we did that. We did estimated sales, I think, right? Something like that. So, yeah, I just did the easy version here of this. So what we did, well, we'll do it like this. Say Control R to get the formula over. And instead of referring to that end of year number, what you'll do is you'll pull out, this is AB69, and then plus 500 more, just to make life easy. And that's how you got 1,000. Right, 20% of estimated sales would be 4,500 plus 500. Okay, so you got that. And I don't, the usefulness of adding up all the, I don't know what the usefulness of, I have it here. I did it myself. I don't know why, but the usefulness of doing that, I don't know. So you can just leave that for the time being. So your finished goods numbers are actually the finished goods. So the total required units are the following. Equals, you sum all that. Okay. 3,700, 4,300, 4,900. Okay. And again, adding all those up, I'm not sure the benefit of that. And now the beginning one is what you want to, well, what you're starting with and what you're ending with, it's that same percentage. Those, I'm saying the end of one quarter is is considered the beginning of the next. So you're just using that 20%. And now in this part of it, it says less beginning finished goods units. What you'll do is you'll have this thing, so it'll be equal products, 20%, anchor the column in the row, and then comma that 3,000. Let's have the row anchored. All right, that's your 600. So this is going to be what you're making, what you expect to sell, what you expect to finish with, and then subtract the beginning units, right? What you started with. See, it's a difference, 3,100. And this goes across the whole, that'll work for the whole thing. This thing is just the sum of them all. Okay, and we'll get to cleaning that up in a little bit. And again, I don't know how much you need this here. I don't think you really need it. Here, there's nothing. So yeah, that's it. You have those three numbers to work on next. And you can see I use these arrows to refer to what we were talking about. Right. So here, let's review before we finish this off. What are we doing? This was just, you're just, the expected unit sales you're just referencing up here, right? You already computed that stuff. Ending is going to be 20% of the next quarter sales. All right, that's a formula. So you multiply next quarter sales by 20%. And then for the last one, you got to do a little estimation, okay? The total required units, you're adding up both of these, what you want to sell, what you want to end with. And then you pull out what you started with. All right, so what you started with is 20% of that quarter's sales. And you go across the whole story there. Okay, so this is what you started with. Okay, and then obviously it says the required production units. It's just the difference between what you're going to sell, what you want to end with, and then what you started with. So you only need to make 40. You don't need to produce 4,900 units. You need to produce 4,100 units. Okay. So that's 2 of the budgets now that you have some experience with. And this just says it in words about excessive inventories and things of that nature. The materials budget is, again, a similar formula. What you need for production, what you want to end with, subtract what you start with, and then required direct materials to be purchased because you're buying silicon or plywood or sheetrock or pipes or electrical wire or something like that. Okay, so let's get to this part of it. Now, in terms of it's for units to be, units to be produced, you got them right there. Right, they're right there. And this, you care about these, right? You use those also. So units to be produced, again, for Hayes Company equals, and again, you see how you're linking to your previous budget every time it seems? Okay, 3,100. And you go across. And let's not worry about the annual numbers right now. The next piece of this, in other words, okay, fine. So let's say this is, I don't know. You need 2 of these, 2 of these 2 pounds, right, per unit of whatever this is, metal or whatever it might be. It should say it in here someplace, but it's 2 pounds of raw materials, and the cost is $4 for the raw materials. And also, we're going to use 10%. Right, ending inventory is equal to 10% of next quarter's production requirements. Okay, so it's going to be 2 pounds a unit. And you want to go across, right? That'll be the same every quarter. So the total pounds needed is just the product. Right. 200 or something like that. And again, if you want to add these up, you can. But again, I'm trying to figure out the benefit of that. And then what you want to end with. So 10%, right, is there. So this thing is the next quarter's production times 10%, and this thing, yes, it looks like we went up 1,000 every quarter. So what we'll do is we'll say equals product, what you're producing, block the row, comma. This is your 10%, lock the both of them. All right, that's how I get 720, 820, 920. Okay, and then to do this other one, I'll do a right click here, and then what we'll say is we'll refer to this one plus 1,000. That should be 1,020. See how we work that out? So again, we just looked and said, okay, what's the pattern? The pattern, they're all 1,000 more. So the first quarter of the 2013 should be 10,200 times that 10%. Materials required. So you're going to add up what you need for production, and then what you want to end with. And then what you're going to start with is your pounds needed for production. All right. So equals product. which is there. Okay, and also, so this is going to go across that row. So you're going to lock that row in, and now you can just go right across, right? So I had the formula here. I said Shift, right arrow, then Control R. Okay, and it gives you what you need to know. And now you have the direct material purchase cost per actually, yeah, direct material. The cost per pound is $4. That we're given that at the bottom here, right? Whatever the metals or something like that. And clear that out. Control R. Okay. And the purchases would be, because you're going to start with the 6,900 and you subtract out 620. Okay. So the purchases are here. And now you're going to do a product. And folks, what are we doing here? We're just trying to get you to figure out, yeah, we're just trying to get you to figure out how to organize your materials purchases. And again, especially if you do this, anything beyond the handyman level, right? You're going to need to be able to understand how to do this. So here, let's sum up all the purchases. This is the $4. Okay. And then here you can just say equals product. That's 124,000, or sum all of this stuff. Whoops. That's your 124. $800. Okay. So this is our third budget that we worked on. Okay. So we took this formula and just made a table out of it. And we didn't use table function. We made a table. We designed our own table and worked on it, is what we did. Okay. Now there's in the chapter, it runs to this, it's called Soriano Company, most likely after the guy in the Yankees. At the time this book was probably written, Alfonso Soriano was a second baseman who was actually traded for Alex Rodriguez in 2004. He was a very good player and was traded for theoretically a much better player, but I think he played with the Cubs for a while. Right? But he was going to be a part of the Yankees in those early 2000s. See, again, you look at him online, he has a Cubs picture, a Chicago Cubs uniform, which is amazing. He started with the Yankees and he was going to be the guy. So for those after, you'd think that it was just going to be it was just going to continue the progression of high quality players coming out of the minor leagues. And they traded him after a couple of years, I guess 5 years, and actually he started out in Japan somehow. I don't know how that happened, and then got to the Yankees, and actually I don't remember. I'm looking at these years he came back with the Yankees, but I don't remember that. So it must not have been. And these numbers are good. I mean, they're not. I don't know if I call them outstanding, but certainly good. These are certainly good numbers. He didn't get to 3,000 hits. He didn't get to 500 home runs. And then he compared to Alex Rodriguez, how he did. But that's where the name of that company most likely came from. And he only lasted 2 years in Texas somehow. All right. And Aquarius, how long did this guy last? Is this a pitcher? Infielder. Again, the Yankees traded this kid to Texas, and he had 7 home runs in his career, and not even 100 RBIs as a player. And I had his best stretch, I guess, with San Francisco at the end of his career, but won the World Series twice somehow in San Francisco. And I don't recall him playing with the Mets. I don't recall that ever happening. So. But we're going to skip that. We're going to do this on another lecture. But this is the same stuff. This is sales, production, and material. So at the end of the chapter, you're going to have to produce these budgets. Now we're going to work on our 4th one, which is called direct labor. And there's quantity, hours, cost of direct labor to meet production requirements. And you need 2 hours of labor for each unit of finished goods, and the hourly wage is $10. So from this, you can just run to the direct labors per unit, 2 hours, 2 hours, 2 hours, 2 hours, and the cost per hour, $10. Okay. Alt HHN. And we'll get to total required labor hours. It says units to be produced. So again, you're referencing in that sales budget way at the beginning of this, you're referencing your initial budget. Oh no, production, pardon me. You're doing production. So it's this. Yeah, your production budget. It's 3,100, not what you're selling, what you're producing. Okay. Not materials, this stuff. There. Okay, you're 46, you're 41, 36. Excuse me, 3,100. And the labor costs are units to be produced, labor time per unit, labor cost per hour. Okay. That's how you get total direct. And we're going to put that into a table here. So what we'll do is, in terms of the hours, you're going to do a product of all that. Okay. And you don't have to worry about anchoring anything with this, because that's the only place you're going to use this. And labor costs here are going to be, the hours are 6,200 equals product. That's the $10 times the 9,200. And you could say equals like that. 308. Okay. That's how you have the direct labor budget. What you're producing, hours per production, and the cost per hour. Okay. Now with the overhead budget, so we're gonna look at the overhead budget. We're gonna look at the selling administrative budget, and then we'll have this the total cost table, and then the income statement. That's it. Yeah. All right, folks, please stand by. Sorry, folks. Okay, so yeah, so we have these few more pieces to work on here. We're looking at the overhead budget, and what you want to do with an overhead budget is yeah, the manufacturing, the overhead manufacturing rate per dollar is 8. No, I'm sorry, per hour. So it's $8 per hour. And actually, we're computing that. We put it here for some reason, but we computed that. But so let's skip worrying about that for the moment, okay? And let's look at what we're given. We're given 4 numbers here. We're given 20 cents for maintenance per direct. This is per direct labor hour. 40 cents utilities, 140 indirect labor, and $1 for indirect materials. And actually, what I did, I want to cut these and put them up here for whatever reason. Okay. Okay. So and again, we'll get to this 8 in a little bit. So variable costs fluctuate with the production on the basis of the following rates per direct labor. So in other words, based on the hours that we put in, indirect materials, these 4 factors here, these 4 quantities vary based on per direct labor hour. Okay. And then you're also given some fixed numbers. These are just given. You're given that supervisor salaries are $20,000. You're given that. Okay. And then that's per quarter. And then for the year is that. Depreciation, $3,800 per quarter. This is property taxes and insurance, 9,000. Maintenance, that's 22,000 for the year. These are all given. Okay, so we're not pulling these out of thin air by any stretch of the imagination. And this is going to be equal sum. You're going to add those up, and they're all about 40,000 or so. And you can add up in whatever, either horizontally and vertically. You can add up either way. You can add those up. Okay, so that you have. Okay, the rest of this, and we put the hours in here in terms of what the hours that you're going to, per quarter that you're going to spend. These are costs. These are the hours up here, 6,200. So if you look at this, you're referring to not to the 62,000, this is 6,200. You're referring to the number of hours used here. So this is equals product. That's that row. And here's the buck. All right, 72, 82, 92. You can add this all up to 30,800. Okay. And now and actually here, let's review this for a second. You're taking this rate per per direct labor hour, and then which is here, and then times those US dollar values. You're going to copy this Alt H to be formula, clean this up, and this is a $1.40, and this next thing is, or should be, that's 293. That's just a row. This will be Control R. This will be the next one, 10,800. 72. You can go down with that whole row and column. Utilities, same thing, the 40 cents, and then times the direct labor hours, and then do the last one here for maintenance. Whoops, undo, Control D, that's it. And these are Control U. All right, so there you go. That's what this looks like. So this is the same thing. You took all of these rates times this set of hours is what you did, and you could almost even highlight those because you use them. Okay. So now you have a total variable cost. You have a total, and I've said this in class a number of times. You'll never see a financial account look like this, right? This is just for internal uses. It looks like this. And this thing, you can go either way. Right, that's 246,400. This thing, yeah, we refer to this up here. I refer to them right, but you could also, I'm looking at the way I put this together. This was just done here. These are all hours for the year, 30,000 hours. And this 8 is equal to the overhead number divided by the 36, which is, yeah, there's your $8, which we said we right there. It's just that. You can maybe make it equal if you wanted to, something like that. Okay. That's manufacturing overhead. This other piece here, this is a selling administrative. The freight out is who pays for the. I forget freight in and freight out. You got to ask a real accountant, who does it all the time. Is it the receiver or the sender? It's one of those. And then sales and sales commissions are $3. The rates. Now we have to see what this. It's based on unit sales from the sales budget. Fine. Okay, so we can come here and type in $3, $1. Okay, you got all that. All right, budgeted sales. You can get these in a couple different ways. You can make, you know what? We've been doing it the whole way. Let's just make it equal. The sales, not the dollars or any of that. The sales units, not Soriano. So this is budgeted sales equals up top here, 3,000. And you add them up. Okay. That's just the sum of Y364 colon AB 364. So AB to Y or Y to AB, those 4 columns. Okay. The commissions per unit. So equals product. There's 3, comma. Now this is the row. And this thing is going to be the column. It's going to lock that. 9,000, Control R. All right, that's 45,000. That's what that is. Freight out for sales, selling expenses, not overhead, selling expenses. And this is the row. That's just a summation, and you can sum this in any, vertical or horizontal. I'm just going to go horizontal now, but you can do it any way that you want. There we go. These other numbers, again, these are just, this is just plugged in. You're spending 5,000. Like that. You're spending 5,000 there. Salary's 15. Okay, so you have your quarterly expenses, and then your fixed total. Okay, these numbers. All right, so you see what this looks like. Here we just add up the quarters, that kind of thing. So the total number, and you could be real sophisticated and just take all the blue entries, which maybe the smarter way to do it. And then you sum up. What's going on? Okay. And our last piece of this, actually 2 last pieces of this, are the total unit cost, and then the income statement. And with this one, you have a $100 interest expense, and taxes are 12,000. And this other thing, this is how many goods you're selling, or you're anticipating selling, is 15,000. That's just from above. Okay. And we're going to group the unit costs in a second here. So it says budget income statement and product of the operating budgets. The expected profitability of operations for the budget period. The income statement provides basis for value and company performance. Sure. Okay. Or often act as a call to action, saying, yeah, well, that's typical. Okay. So for materials, I think if we go to the material budget, you're looking at $4 a unit from here, right? That's $4 a unit from up here. Labor is 10. Now, again, it makes you go back and look at your work, right? This is materials. Labor is 10. And the overhead is that $8. That's that 8. It's here, it's there, it's a couple different places. All right. So what you do with these, now again, you want a total unit cost. You're going to say equals product. You need whatever it is, 2 pounds, right? Also, and you could check this 2 hours, 2 hours. Okay. You want to go through and assure yourselves of that also. So sales, production, materials, your 2 units, which that matches that 2 there, 2 pounds per unit. Two hours per unit here for direct labor. And the overhead budget is also that number. And we put that in here somewhere. But again, with these models, you do make a lot of assumptions. I think the assumption is that the direct labor and the overhead are considered the same. I remember reading that somewhere, and I think one of the problems said that, because we're looking for the 2 somewhere in here. So overhead, okay, direct labor hour. It doesn't say, but okay, you have to assume that. Just make that assumption. So, all right, copy formula. And this is the sum, the $44 per unit cost. Labor, materials, overhead. Okay, and again, there's questions in the back where you have to do that. And the last thing we're doing here, since we already wrote down income taxes and expenses, interest expenses, the interest expense is going to be here, negative 100. This is 0. All right, those are the numbers there. Underline that. Income taxes are 12,000. Okay. This, we have to work that formula out in a second, and we will. Okay. Yeah, selling administrative. That's at 180,000. That's that final number there. And we just equated it to that is all we did. Okay, that we just equated it to that. So now we're pretty much just up here. So this is going to be This is 0. This is 0. Those are 0. This is this is just that 9. It's just a product of these two. So you could even just take this 900,000 from there if you want. All right, that's 900,000. And this is going to be equal to this plus, which is 0. And your cost of goods sold, I think with this one, what you did was we just took the units times that $44, right? The 44 is here, and the units are that 15,000. And this is a negative. That's gross profits 240 because he had a big, that's a big piece of this. That's over 2/3 of the net sales goes to cost of goods sold. You have operating expenses here. So the income from operations is simply this number, plus that negative. The summation says you're down, you work this down to 60,000 and then take out another 100 here. So this equals sum of your income from operations, comma, this, comma, the 100. That's how you get 59,900, right? And this is minus 12,000, so equals those two, and that's how you get to 47,900. Okay, that's the end of our journey for this video. Okay, so and then as I said, I sketched out the schedule for this stuff before I ran off on the bike today, which was by the way, it was really nice out today. Probability, yeah. So we did this today, or we did this just now. The first one, basics, terminology, operating budgets in the Hayes Company, and then we'll do Soriano. Next one will be shorter, and then some of this other stuff. We'll have these other topics here. Financial budgets, non-manufacturing, and then we'll do the 2 comprehensive problems. Okay, so at least, like I said, before my trip, hopefully we'll get you guys set up for, what you need to be set up for. Okay, stop presenting. All right, folks, thank you. We'll see you soon.